many of you have ever questioned your gender identity? Because typically our gender and sex match. And most people actually think that gender and sex mean the same thing. And we just take it for granted that both are aligned and never question it. Those that do, there's a reason why. I'm so excited about having that today. Gender and sex have two distinct meanings. Gender refers to your identity of self as male, female, both, or neither. Believe it or not, there are individuals that do not feel as either gender or sex. And sex refers to your actual physical component, your gonads, your reproductive organs, and your genitals. Now most people say, well, isn't everything the same thing? Not necessarily so. And you'll learn that as my presentation goes onward. Now, did you know that 1 out of 100 babies have some form of gender and sex identity anomaly? You heard correctly, 1 out of 100. Doesn't mean 1 out of 100 babies are transsexual, but 1 out of 100 babies fall somewhere within the continuum, gender-sex continuum, which is rather complex. If we look at the top of the continuum, individuals that gender and sex are fully aligned, there's no questions asked. Why am I sounding like I have feedback? Everything's not working for me today. Then you have those individuals that are actually partially away from the typical development, but not so much so that they're actually pretty comfortable, that's the corporate, pretty comfortable with their gender and sex alignment, so they don't question it. But then you have those individuals, like myself, who it's totally unbearable to live another day within your skin. See, on the top, what I'm supposedly supposed to say, hormonal influx and receptive communications that take place when you're being made inside your mother's womb. We all start off as, it's like a default of being female. Now, depending on this hormonal influx and receptive communication would depend where you fall within that continuum. Let's say you are all the way on the left side of the continuum, that would be your fully aligned gender and sex, no problem, no questions asked. In the middle, as the comfortable area, there are individuals that are androgynous. Then you have the feminine males or the masculine female, which you see in life. I mean, there are men that are very feminine. They can't help it. No matter how hard you slap them on their little, stop acting like a girl. That's how they are. You can't change that. Same thing with the little girl, tomboy. She loves to play with trucks. You know, just the way it is. Doesn't mean that they're going to want and change their sex. Doesn't mean that their sexual orientation is going to be anywhere near geared to how they're behaving. This is who you are, and this is how your hormones are set when you're being made. And then you have individuals like myself, to include gender bender, gender queer, intersex, and transsexuals, which we are all the way in the right side of the continuum, and it's a life or death situation. Many people commit suicide. The spectrum would depend how you identify it. Now, the biggest mistake people think, they see a feminine person put on a dress, automatically they go, oh, transvestite, oh, drag queen, cross-dressers. Well, it's not the same thing as being a transsexual or transgender. I do want to say something though. Cross-dressers are in that cusp that they could very much become transsexual, but they're still not to that full extent of having to live their lives full-time as a gender that they identify. Drag queen could be a homosexual man who enjoys entertaining, and that's what they do for a living. And sometimes they don't even have to be homosexual. Sometimes that's what they do for a living. They're a drag queen. The way the fetus develops and functions in terms of gender and sex is highly dependent on the availability of a particular hormone and the sensitivity of that hormone. This could be because of medication the pregnant mother was administered, as in my case. My mother was taking thyroid medication since the age of 8. She had her whole thyroid removed. She had some form of tumor. When it came time to try to get pregnant, she was unable to, so they put her on some sort of progesterone type of hormone back in Cuba. I want to also share, my sister is gay. So there's definitely something within what they gave her that changed her system completely. Another thing that's very responsible for gender identity disorders are environmental toxins known as endocrine disrupting chemicals. These chemicals could be anything like pesticides, herbicides, fungicides, and estrogenic compounds such as soy product that we see in every single thing that we drink and eat this day and age. Also, I don't know if you've been keeping up with the news, there are a lot of animals, including fishes and frogs, that are now starting to have ambiguous genitalia and acting opposite from the gender that they're actually demonstrating. And this is because of birth control pills that are constantly being consumed by the average female, and when they use the restroom, where do you think that hormone-filled water goes to? Yeah, Ninja Turtle. Remember that? The fetus could also be non-receptive to the hormonal influx. Okay, I don't know if you've heard of complete androgen insensitivity syndrome. I'm Cuban, and the words sometimes just kind of insensitivity syndrome. The androgen is introduced into the system, but the fetal receptors aren't identifying it. So what happens? You've got a boy who looks completely as a girl, the girl brain, and partial maybe male genitalia, or sometimes it doesn't even happen. So there are many premutation, many things that take place. Okay, and as you see, the fetus is a very permeable tissue.